Imagine being kicked out of your own home by your daughter, at 68, with 2 old suitcases and a broken heart. Now imagine walking away in silence, hiding the fact that you've got $1.7 million in the bank. Sounds like a movie script, right? But that's exactly what happened to Rosa, a woman who traded revenge for dignity and used her pain to build something that would change lives, including the life of the very daughter who turned her away. This story is going to turn your beliefs upside down. It challenges everything we think we know about family, forgiveness, legacy, and invisible poverty. Rosa was humiliated. But instead of getting even, she chose to serve. Her answer to rejection was a bowl of hot food and a warm place to sleep. And that choice changed the course of dozens of lives. The craziest part? Her daughter, Clara, ended up being saved by the very thing she tried to destroy. If you believe money fixes everything, wait till you see what silence, courage, and compassion can do. This story is full of twists, emotion, and a powerful lesson about the kind of wealth no one sees, but everyone needs. And I promise you, after this, you'll never look at an elderly person the same way again. Rosa, 68, is kicked out of the house by her daughter Clara. She leaves with 2 old suitcases, hiding the fact that she just sold an inherited land and has $1.7 million. She secretly buys and renovates a rundown mansion to found Sol de Esperanza, a shelter and community kitchen for the elderly and people cast aside by their families. Rosa had grandmother hands and eyes full of quiet sorrow, but no one expected that, on that grey afternoon, Clara would lock the door behind her. 2 suitcases, a forgotten coffee cup on the table, and a silence louder than shouting. That eviction from home wasn't just physical, it was emotional. What Clara didn't know was that behind that trembling step down the sidewalk, Rosa carried more than old clothes. She carried a secret. She had just sold an inherited land for $1.7 million. Sometimes, life takes things away to make room for what really matters. With that money, which no one knew about, Rosa bought a crumbling old mansion on the edge of town. Broken tiles, moldy walls, windows creaking in the wind, everything about it screamed, the end. But for Rosa, it was a beginning. She renovated it with the kind of strength only the rejected understand. And from that, Son of Hope, Sol de Esperanza, was born. A shelter and community kitchen no one saw coming. A place where the smell of hot soup mixed with the scent of redemption. There, she welcomed people just like her, abandoned mothers, forgotten fathers, victims of invisible poverty and closed hearts. But Rosa knew, some doors that open never close again. It's funny how life stitches wounds in the most unexpected ways. Founding the shelter didn't just help others, it healed Rosa, too. She named the kitchen Rosa's Table, a simple name, but so full of meaning. Every meal served was seasoned with compassion and selfless help. And is there anything more revolutionary than that? Like planting flowers in a place everyone else called barren. Rosa didn't seek revenge. She cooked redemption, gave out solidarity, and quietly rewrote her own story, not just for herself, but for a whole generation of forgotten souls. And as the smell of beans began drifting through the neighborhood, something else began to spread. While Rosa's table flourishes, Clara's life crumbles. Debt, abandonment by her husband, and her baby's illness force her to seek help. She unknowingly walks into her mother's kitchen, where Rosa silently welcomes her. Working side by side, mother and daughter slowly begin a reconciliation built on service and compassion. While Rosa's table blossomed, Clara's life collapsed just as fast as the bills piled up in the kitchen drawer. Her husband, who once promised forever, vanished without even a coward's goodbye. Her sick baby cried more than he slept, and the neighbors, well, they shut their curtains like they shut their hearts. Life has a funny way of testing your pride. Clara, who once called her mother weak, now found herself forgotten. And it wasn't in some fancy clinic or ad on TV that she found relief. It was in a place that smelled like fresh bread and quiet dignity, the Sol de Esperanza. She had no idea that the smell of warm food and a waiting apron came from the very hands she'd once pushed away. Rosa said nothing, just pointed to the apron on the wall and made room at the sink. Sometimes love doesn't need words. just service. And there, in the rhythm of stirring spoons and clinking pots, mother and daughter began to reconnect. The kitchen became a confessional. With each shared recipe, Clara started to understand what real compassion looked like. Not something said, but something done. And Rosa, always silent, watched with eyes that had seen enough to know. Healing takes time. Working together in that kitchen didn't just restore their bond. It changed Clara. She started to feel the power of solidarity. Because helping those who have nothing, without expecting applause, is one of the most powerful things anyone can do. And here's the thing. The more Clara gave, the more she found herself. Watching forgotten elderly smile again, serving a warm plate to a mother who had nowhere to go. It reshaped her from the inside out. Clara began to understand that redemption isn't about saying sorry. It's about becoming someone new. And something in her already knew. This was just the beginning of a new path. Clara discovers letters and documents revealing the origin of the shelter and her mother's love. She officially takes over the foundation. After Rosa's peaceful passing, the project expands with workshops and medical support. Clara honors the legacy, remembering, the doors that open are always stronger than the ones that close. It was one quiet afternoon, while cleaning an old shelf, that Clara found what she never expected. Among yellowed papers and carefully folded envelopes were letters from Rosa, along with documents of the inherited land sale and records of a secret bank account. Every line told a truth that had never been spoken. The $1.7 million wasn't wealth, it was purpose. A testimony that Rosa hadn't chosen luxury, but compassion. Clara's eyes filled with tears, and it wasn't from dust. It was the weight of unspoken words, of judgments she now deeply regretted. In those letters, Rosa explained everything, without defending herself. It was love written in silence. Eventually, Clara fully took over the charitable foundation, not out of obligation, but out of honor. She understood that the real legacy isn't in bricks or bank balances. It's in the lives you touch. Under her leadership, Son of Hope, Sol de Esperanza, grew. Workshops for the elderly, basic healthcare, even music classes. Rosa's table became a symbol for an entire community, one that finally understood the power of selfless help. Clara learned to turn pain into action. And every day, she remembered something her mother had once said without words. Those who serve, save themselves. And honestly, she started to believe it. Rosa passed peacefully on a calm morning, sitting on the porch with a blanket on her lap and her gaze lost in the sky. No drama, no big goodbye, just a beautiful silence. And in that absence, Clara heard her mother louder than ever. She began to repeat a phrase that became the shelter's motto. The doors that open are always stronger than the ones that close. And that truth echoed in every corner. What was born from rejection had become a lighthouse for those needing a second chance. And you know, life has a curious way of giving back what you give from the heart. Sometimes, it all begins with a quiet choice. Sometimes, it starts with a bowl of soup. So tell me, how many Rosas have we ignored out there? How many Claras are stuck in cycles of pride, not knowing that healing starts the moment we serve someone else? Maybe the real question isn't, what did Rosa do with the $1.7 million? But rather, what are you doing with the pain you carry? Will you use it to hurt? Or to heal? The truth is, many people live surrounded by closed doors because they've never learned how to open one. And sometimes, the biggest treasure of your life won't come from money, but from the chance to be useful. So, what are you doing with your time, your story, your past hurts? Will you keep dragging them like chains, or turn them into bridges? If this story hit home, and I know it did, take 2 simple steps. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, we share stories that stir the soul, provoke change, and maybe open a door you didn't even know was locked. And drop a comment. What part of this story struck you the most? I'm genuinely curious.